And we'll begin in about 8 minutes or so. Yeah, thanks for coming. It's going to be a good one tonight. In the meantime, you can go ahead and follow our social medias. If you're on Instagram, we're at 7edu underscore impact academy, as you can see on the screen. And it'd be great if you could check us out on Facebook and give us a like too. You can catch up on all of our latest updates, our blog posts, our academic news through either of those channels. And of course, you guys all know the WeChat. GJ, just to answer your question, yes, we do record and we do share that, but it'll be on YouTube later. But there's no guarantee of when it'll be up. But if you'd like to receive it sooner, then you can just contact us immediately. Just email socialmedia@7edu.org. I'll type it in the chat. And we can send it to you before we put it online if that's what you would like. Thanks for asking. Oh. Hello, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. We're going to get started in a couple more minutes. Just letting everyone take a seat. And I hope you're all excited for tonight. We've got a lot of great material for you, and make sure you keep your questions noted, and we'll be answering them at the end. Just leave them in the chat or the Q&A box throughout the lecture, or you can raise your hand at the end. Thank you. All right, we're about to get started tonight. Francis, are you ready?
Yes.
Great, great. So welcome to our event tonight, 7EDU Impact Academy's open class. Tonight we're going to be talking about COVID-19 and admissions in 2020. And our special guest tonight, maybe you've seen the video, it's Francis. She's one of our expert counseling admissions experts at 7EDU Impact Academy. And make sure you follow us on our social medias to see what we're up to. We're going to have events every week, and next week's event's going to be really exciting as well. And make sure you just leave your questions in the Q&A box or raise your hand at the end. So let's begin with a brief introduction to Francis. So Francis, can
Hi,
you tell
Ryan.
us a bit
Hello,
about you?
everyone. Yes, absolutely. My name is Francis. I'm a college admissions expert from Seven Education. Over my professional experiences, I've been guiding all of my students to get into top schools or schools that will best fit them, including top schools like MIT, University of Pennsylvania, Columbia University, University of California, Berkeley, etc. So yeah, I hope this workshop can be of service to you guys as well. And then yeah, good luck in this year.
Great, 10 years is a long time. Can you tell us about what some of the most frequently asked questions or concerns you've been receiving lately from parents and students?
For sure. One most common question is that people always ask, like, is now a late time to start, or like is ninth grade a late time to start? Actually, there's never such a late time. I would say whenever the student is ready for planning for colleges, like it's a good time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's never too late to start. And you know, how can people get a little more information about your counseling program and to see how you work with students?
For sure. So on all of our presentation slides, probably not this one, but then all the other ones, there's a QR code on the bottom, like on the right hand side. If you guys could just, scan, you're gonna get more information about, how we work with our students, how we help our students to apply for college, how we help our students, for high school extracurricular planning. Just feel free to reach out us, by scanning the QR code. You can also find us on our official website or by calling us as well. The information is down below, right at the bottom.
Great, great. So, could you give us a little overview about what you're going to talk about tonight? And just hop
For
right into it.
yeah, so this year there's a lot of things, there's a lot of changes going on. So for today's workshop, I'm gonna be giving you guys more tips about the three college admissions trends
Mm.
in COVID-19, this critical and special time. Hopefully, our workshop is helpful to you. Okay. Actually, the first question a lot of people always ask is like, hey, is this year's admissions gonna be hard? My answer is like, it's all the numbers on the board, right? All the top schools, the top 10 schools, all their acceptance rate are lower than 10%. And then the game is just only going to be harder and harder because we all know that for the past few years, standardized college applications, they have been allowing people to put in more applications than ever before. So such standardization is, helping people to reduce the time they put into each application. So that is why, every single elite school is having more people apply to them. So because the spot is very limited, the acceptance rate will naturally just, drop very drastically. So as you can tell from this chart, every single school's, acceptance rate is very low, including Stanford, which is 4.20%, and then Brown, 6.60%. So if you want to get into a good school, the game is just getting harder and harder.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things about this year's college applications. Could you tell us a bit about what you recommend students do and not?
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. Every year, I'm providing a lot of strategies, a lot of advice with regard to what to do and then what not to do in college admissions. So the first to do is actually to prepare early. Every year, I would have so many students applying kind of late. For example, last year, the night before University of California's application deadline, I still was having student, putting in UC application last minute. Believe it or not, the system was super slow, right? So that is something to do, right? Prepare early, including the college essays. You always want to prepare early so that you give yourself more time to polish everything, every small detail in your college application form, because colleges will always tell whether you have prepared it well or not well. And then one of the biggest do not do's is to try to avoid certain things in your college application. Think about it. Your readers, the college admissions counselors, the college admissions officers, I'm sorry. So they're also human beings. So in your college application, you always want to avoid some super controversial stuff, including, religion, including some super hot political issues. Avoid them at all costs unless you think you can play it safe, right? Because your readers are also human beings who have, presumptions about what you're going to be talking about. So make sure you are always, presenting your views in a neutral and unbiased way that's relatable to your readers, your audience.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely common for students to procrastinate on their applications, but I feel like this year is more important than ever with all the competition, right?
Exactly, exactly. Every year, students are giving themselves giving counselors and then giving their parents a heart attack. I hope like this year, I'm getting fewer students like that.
I'm sure you've been through many of those over the past 10 years. So could you talk a little bit about the changes in the tests?
For sure. I guess everybody knows SAT and ACT is being dropped by a record number of colleges, including top national universities such as University of Chicago, George Washington University, and Wake Forest, and then also top liberal arts colleges like Bowdoin College, Smith College, and Pittsburgh College. I mean, SAT and ACT, when they first were designed, they were designed to measure students, aptitude, meaning their IQ. But then after they were being redesigned, they were trying to, catch and capture students' efforts, being made in the test preparation process. And then yes, SAT and ACT have been doing a good job in measuring students, hard work, and then also how well they can, perform in college. They're good at, predicting that. But then on the other hand, in the process of college admissions, people have been finding that, because of a lot of the privileged or average families, by average, I mean like families who have, access to more socioeconomic resources, the children who are brought up, the children who are raised in such families, they just have more time. They can devote more, money to preparing for SAT and ACT, which is actually putting, underserved, underprivileged families at a disadvantage. So this is one of the reasons why SAT and ACT is being dropped by a record number of colleges. On the other hand, this year, COVID-19 is making, SAT such a pain, right? We all know like the March, May, and June SAT were all get canceled, and then for ACT, the July ACT was canceled in quite a few areas in California, in Tennessee, in a lot of regions in the United States. So all of these factors have made colleges to come to such a significant decision.
Yeah, it's a very significant change, and a lot of students are wondering, whether or not they should even try with the SAT or ACT anymore.
hmm That's a great question. My take on this question is that, compare with the many soft elements, the many soft, skills being measured in college application, things like extracurriculars, things like, college essays, things like, extra or additional information that needs student to report. SAT or ACT is still a very easy, a very straightforward quantitative measure that student can easily prepare. So basically, your preparation can directly translate to good scores in those standardized. So my suggestion is no matter what colleges say about it, they are being test optional. They're not being test blind. So as long as you can get an okay SAT or ACT score, you should still, prepare for them and submit them, no matter
I
what.
mean, even if you have a bad score, would you?
It really depends on school's policy, right? I mean, for this year, because of like um most colleges are making it optional. I guess like for a score that will hurt your application, don't submit it as long as you get, a matching score. By matching score, I mean, a matching score that, goes in the same line with the rest of your profile, your GPA, or your college essay. You should still submit it. You never know what colleges are gonna think of it, right? They probably gonna see it as that you have taken the opportunity to still take it in face of such a COVID-19 challenge. You never know.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, we have one anonymous attendee asking, what would you consider a good or bad score? This obviously depends on the school, but another student is also asking about UPenn specifically and their emphasis on SAT scores. Do you have any input on that?
hmm For sure. I
What a
don't
good score
think
might be?
Sure. I don't think UPenn is the only one school that has been emphasizing SAT or ACT. all the elite schools, like their applicants or the students they take must have, above average SAT scores, right? So it's not just about UPenn. I think more importantly, it's like you have to pass the threshold SAT or ACT score for all those elite schools. And then we need to talk about extracurriculars and essays, how the other, elements can help you stand out. So it's not just SAT that UPenn cares about. And then it's also not just UPenn. Every school cares about it.
Yeah, so I guess the main gist of it is, does it empower your application or does it weaken it? If it empowers it, then include it, right?
For sure. Definitely. Definitely. Okay.
Great.
And then also in the same line, Harvard applicants no longer required to submit SAT, ACT writing scores. So this is something, not new at all. I mean, from the past few years, we have been seeing so many schools making the writing scores for SAT and ACT optional. I mean, you also need to think about this issue very critically, right? So if you don't submit your writing scores to colleges, how are they going to evaluate your writing ability? They are going to evaluate from your English class scores. And then more importantly, they're going to treat your college essay even more seriously, right? So you really need to think about like for what kind of writing can you perform better? Can you write better? Can you respond better so that you make a reasonable and wise choice?
Mhm. Yeah, and to the last two people who asked questions about a threshold for UPenn and for 1410 SAT score, um, I mean, given that it's being graded on in a holistic view, I don't think that there's any specific thresholds that would count as passing. But Francis is the expert. Do you have any extra advice on that?
Yeah, I don't have the exact number on top of my head, but then based off of the number of the middle 50% students they take in from last year, I remember the range should be about 1380 to 1550 something. So I would say for the majority of students, at least 1500 is a good number to look at. But
Mhm.
then again, because college admissions is a holistic review process, if there's any else, like, any other part that you've been like doing really well that can, balance out your SAT score a little bit, that's another story.
Mhm. Great. Thank you, Francis. I mean,
Mhm.
so you've been giving so much advice to different parents and students. What are some of the most frequently asked questions and concerns that you get?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people are really worried, like, this year, if I cannot get SAT score like ready by the time I apply, what am I gonna do with it? I mean, we've been seeing, College Board, being crashed for quite a few times within, the short amount of, last month. We've been receiving a lot of calls regarding, hey, I cannot get a spot for August test, things like that. So think about it. Really, really, we don't want people to stress out. If you don't get a spot for, August or September SAT, still try your best to get the next available one. For all the regular decision schools this year, the December test like can even count towards your can still be considered. So what I'm saying is that for this year, it's just really, really special situation. And then the biggest request is really about not being able to get a spot for SAT. If you don't get it, don't be upset. It's okay. Everybody is experiencing the same situation. Don't worry. We will guide you to solution that works for you.
Mhm. Great.
All right. University of California, in the same line as Harvard and many other schools that we have just mentioned, they're taking a staged solution to eliminating dropping SAT and ACT. So for fall 2021 and fall 2022, they're making SAT and ACT tests optional, meaning like students can choose to not submit their SAT or ACT scores, but then if they do submit, UC will still consider. But then moving forward for fall 2023 to fall 2025, they're gonna make it, test blind, meaning like even if students submit, they won't consider it for admissions purpose. But please, be aware that during this time period, UC will still consider students' SAT or ACT scores for merit scholarship purpose. So if you're planning to get a full ride for UC, SAT and ACT, you still need to prepare for it and then get a good score so that you stand out. And then moving on to fall 2025, UC will either bring up a new standardized test, or if their plan just falls through, they'll just eliminate the standardized test requirement. There won't be any standardized test, like if the new test is not, being planned, being carried out successfully. So this timeline basically covers all the current high schoolers. So make sure you are aware of all these policy testing requirement changes from not only UC, but then also the other school you apply to, and then come back and consider about your testing scheduling and then testing preps. Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely look forward to a new University of California system with all the changes that have been going around. It's very hard to predict how things are going to look in 3-4 years when people are applying to the UCs.
Mm-hmm.
I believe test optional is for everyone who's an incoming senior, junior, sophomore, and then
Mm-hmm.
test
Yes.
line begins at incoming freshman, correct?
Yes.
So yeah, one of our attendees asked if, admissions from fall 2023 and 2024 will be way harder. And personally, I don't think that's easy to answer right now, given how much is in the air. But maybe Francis, you could give a little insight into that. Do you think it'll be harder to apply to the UCs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will agree with Ryan. The thing is that college admissions is also a game of supply and demand, right?
Hmm.
UCs only have that many, open spots every year, right? If you look at the number of students they take in, the seats they have, that won't change. So most likely the game will depend on how many people apply. For example, 5 years ago, when, University of California still had an old essay prompts. Like everybody applied to UC, they would check all the UC campuses, including UC Berkeley and UCLA, which are considered, rich school for a lot of the students. But then, like for the past year and then also the year before, we've been noticing that students are being more reasonable, more rational. They're thinking more about like, hey, is this really the school I want to go to, or Berkeley and UCLA, UCLA has been doing a great job of making all their admissions information really transparent. So students have the right expectations from about 2 to 3 years ago. And then there's actually a job in UC Berkeley and UCLA's, application number from 2 years ago. So which makes, UC Berkeley and UCLA's acceptance rate go up a little bit. So I would say, I cannot, really guess or second guess about the coming years, but then always watch out and then monitor every year's admissions and then make your own call.
Yeah, and just one last question on this topic. Another attendee asked, will affirmative action bill make it harder for Asians to get into UCs? And and I don't know if you've read the president's letter and the ACA 5, the constitutional amendment, but it's not very clear about how they're going to go about this if it is to pass. Francis, do you have any insight on that?
I'm seeing people having very, very contradictory views on this and then voting differently.
Yeah.
So we have to wait till later to see, what's going to happen, right? Fingers crossed for everyone.
Mhm. Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Yeah, great question though.
Thank you.
And
All
you
right.
could we'll have more information on the affirmative action and ACA 5 and whatnot. If you just follow our blog, we want to give you guys the latest in academic news. So, yeah.
Right. Here are some common questions, common beliefs, regarding SAT and ACT. A lot of students come to us asking, why do colleges drop SAT, ACT as a requirement? What's the purpose, right? So as I've already mentioned, basically the main reason is twofold. The first fold being that, colleges is seeing SAT and ACT being, reflecting more of students' socioeconomic status, which is not something they're trying to do, right? If you think about the purpose of education, it's always about breaking the barriers in between different social classes. It's all about social mobility. So
Mhm.
that's the first fold. And then the second fold is that, this year is really special because of COVID-19. It's just not very likely that every student can take the test at a time that they want or get a score as they want. So they're trying to break this barrier for students. What they are trying to do is just to select the best people, the best fit students for themselves.
Yeah,
And
and
then,
there's been a lot of changes. Huh? What was that? Sorry.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, yeah, there's been a lot of changes in the way that admissions officers are going to be evaluating us, right?
Exactly. We're gonna be touching upon that topic in a minute, but then basically they are having more focus. They are weighing extracurriculars, essays, and then also students' contribution to their own families and then local community a little bit more.
Hmm.
Okay. Another common misbelief is that students don't need to take SAT and ACT anymore, which is not the case, right? It's still a very easy, way to make yourself stand out. So if you can still get a spot for yourself, still take it. That's something we highly recommend. Okay. All right. So the second biggest college admissions trend this year is that colleges are being aware of how COVID-19 is impacting all the students, their families, and then also their college admissions, right? So which is why, Common Application has been adding this supplemental essay, max of 250 words, to help students to report whatever is relevant, to COVID-19. I'm just gonna read the essay prompt really quick. Community disruptions such as COVID-19 and natural disasters can have deep and long-lasting impacts. If you need it, the space is yours to describe those impacts. Colleges care about the effects on your health and well-being, safety, family circumstances, future plans, and education, including access to reliable technology and acquire study places. If you do wish to share on this topic, you can just use this space. And then the word limit is 250 words. So I'm going to talk more about what you can report in here. So basically, if you have any illness or family loss with regard to COVID-19, you can report it in here. And then also, if you have experienced any housing or your parent have been experiencing any employment disruptions, you can report it in here. Or if you have any shifting or increased family obligations or responsibilities, you can report it in here. Most importantly, 250 words, probably you are not going to be able to write up a full length essay. I would say report what's going on as the facts in here, and then more importantly, talk about how and then what you have done, to overcome those challenges. If you do want colleges to look at this essay or to look at this report, in a good way, you need to focus more on the positive efforts that you have made in the process. So that's something to really watch out for this essay.
Yeah, this could be a huge competitive advantage or disadvantage, really depending on how you frame it, right? Are there situations where you would say just don't say anything at all?
Mm, I would say think about how other people or what other people will report, right? My
Mhm.
guess is that a lot of people, a lot of students will report about how online learning is giving them a hard time. But
Mhm.
if you just talk about it in a way that sounds like you're whining about it, that's no good, right? And then also because like almost every single school in the highly affected area has switched to online learning. And then also common application actually gives out a 650 word space to the high school counselor so that they can report how online learning has been changing their, teaching experiences, grading, criteria and stuff. So as a student, you should still focus more on what you have done, what you have achieved, how you have overcome the challenge. Don't focus merely on the challenge itself.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah.
All right. The third college admissions change that I want to talk about is the Common Caring Project by Harvard Graduate School of Education. And then also their proposal has been endorsed by more than 300 university deans, meaning like they all agree on this. So basically this year, they want to weigh the following five factors a lot more than ever before, including self-care, academic work, service and contributions to others, family contributions, extracurricular and summer activities. So they do understand, what COVID-19 has done. So which is why they care more about, how the student is taking care of themselves, their families, their local community. They also want to see like if the student has been able to go above and beyond about their extracurriculars and summer activities. I'm pretty sure colleges definitely know that, COVID-19 has been preventing people to go out. So people's, extracurricular profiles this summer cannot be as, good or, enriching as the summers before. But then on the other hand, while we are all stuck at home, kind of, think about, still, what can you do about it? There are so many, online courses that you can take. There are so many online summer camps that you can participate in, right? So I would say for this project or considering it and then coming back to our college application process, still look at the good aspects, right? Just as before, all the universities they care about from what kind of social contexts you come from, or with what kind of limited resources you have, and then you have achieved this and that. They always want to look at like when people get stuck, when people struggle, what have you done, right? So that's the thing, that's the key. So think about what you can still achieve while staying at home or being limited to what you have today. So basically leverage all the accessible resources you have at hand.
Yeah, it sounds like this year's applications are the chance for qualitative, you know, um, qualities of yourself to really stand out more so than ever. All the quantitative statistics of your grades and your performance on tests, you can
Mhm,
really take advantage of this opportunity, right? So, do
mhm.
you have any projections
Yes,
about how admissions will go?
yes, for sure. Because of the elimination of SAT and ACT as a hard requirement from a lot of schools, we are projecting that there will be more applicants, to every single university, especially the top schools. The competition is probably gonna even be, worse than ever before. So that is something we are projecting. And then on the other hand, because of the qualitative, factors that colleges have been including in the admissions process, students who can write well, who can have above average, who can have excellent college essays to submit, they are going to stand out like even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We do have a couple questions about extracurriculars. It seems to be a very hot topic, right? Everyone wants to know how to stand out with their extracurriculars. Do you have any tips on that? Or, what do you see admissions officers looking for? One person mentioned sharing distributing face masks.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. So in terms of extracurriculars in general, the quality matters more than the quantity.
Hmm.
So we all know, like, schools like University of California, they allow students to report up to 20 activities on the application form. And then for Common App, the number is 10. So once you have that number, the quality matters more. And then, distributing face masks to your neighbors or to people in need is definitely, a great extracurricular. But then, as you know, but then so far we've been seeing a lot of students doing this.
Hmm.
So, which means that it's a kind of, common activity at this time point. So it's still nice that you do that. But then if you can think about how you can really present it in a way that doesn't sound similar or generic, that's something you should think about. So probably you've been, going extra miles to distribute those face masks to underserved area. I don't know, or probably you have distributed, face masks to a senior house. You need to give people more context to understand what you have done, and then you have to give the readers your reason for doing this. You cannot just say like, hey, I did this. A lot of times if your extracurricular is not that unique or doesn't stand out as much, you need to give people the reason why you did it, because people might be doing the same thing out of different reasons. If you can give the college admissions officers a good reason that you did these, kind endeavors, that would be nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think quality over quantity and just really making it your own. Take ownership of what you're doing and, write about it sincerely, and the admissions officers will feel that. They'll know it. But, you know, doing the same thing that a lot of other students are doing isn't going to resonate as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think it's great that all you young students are just out there, helping the community as best you can, and keep it up. All right.
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of students who are, really care about their local community, and then have been donating a lot of goods like hand sanitizers or face masks, which is super nice. But in college application, most importantly, you have to put yourself in other people's shoes. You need to think about, hey, is this something other people will also report? If yes, you need to give the college admissions officer a reason to admit you out of, you know, let's say 100 or 200 people, right? So you need to give out that reason really clearly, really convincingly in your college application.
I would add that if you can add a quantitative measure to your qualitative activities, like say you started a mask thing and you actually distributed over 20,000 to people in need, then that would be something significant. I don't think most students would be able to do that, but yeah, just really trying your best on the whatever community service act that you're taking and making it stand out. Really
Mhm,
taking the ethos of your admissions offices, right?
mhm. Yeah, and then also like when colleges look at your students' activities, they consider everything really specifically. They also will ask you to report like, hey, how many hours, a day, how many hours a week have you done it? And then how many weeks per year you've done it. So they definitely look at the numbers as well. If you have done, let's say, face mask distribution for, let's say, 20 hours a week, then compare with another student who was also doing the same thing, like 1 hour per week. Colleges will notice the difference. The hours are gonna add up like naturally, right? So that is also something, to think about.
Mhm. Yeah, so we have a lot of questions. Let's finish up the presentation and we'll get to all those questions. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So what can juniors do? I'm not sure how many people present, are rising seniors. for current juniors. But then there's a few things that we do predict, will come up this year. And then the first thing is that we project that admissions deadline will get delayed. Actually, this is already happening, right? I mean, Princeton University, along with a few other schools, have been canceling on their early application deadlines. So make sure you always check those updates from your dream schools or your school list. Make sure like you plan for all the college application deadlines accordingly. So that's the first thing that we think, high school juniors should be aware and then be prepared for. And the second thing is that universities will be more lenient with students' GPA and then also extracurricular profile this year just because of COVID-19. I mean, basically all the public school districts in California, they have canceled this semester's GPA, even though, private schools didn't. And then also because of COVID-19, people are really being unable to do a lot of, extracurricular activities as they would like to have. So that is why, colleges will also take this into consideration, while reviewing everybody's, profile application. So you know, if you don't have this semester GPA from school, it's okay. Everybody is, same as you. And then for extracurricular activity, do your best. Try to accomplish more with the resources you have. So that's the second thing we want to share. And then the third thing is that basically you need to students want to look at whatever you've achieved and build off of whatever you have. So for whatever kind of activity you've already had, you want to think about how you can elevate it, how you can take it to the next level. Just as we said, quality matters more than quantity, right? So if there's any activity that you have been doing on a surface level that you think you can level it up, so that you should consider doing over the summer or for the coming fall semester. So these are the things we think, high school juniors want to be aware of. And then these are tips can all help you guys, to get into a good school if you want.
Mhm. Absolutely. The questions about extracurriculars, there's so many of them. I mean, everybody wants to know what extracurriculars they can do, and how one student asked, "How do you make an extracurricular look like you didn't do it just because of COVID?" I feel like that's something that you were probably doing before COVID, right? What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, it's not because of COVID that people are doing things, right? I think COVID is, just inspiring people, kind of, in a good way, inspiring people, to think about what they really want. When everybody is stuck at home, I'm not sure about you guys, but I've been thinking a lot about what, what my life is like and then what I can do to help others, which is my true desire, right? I think it's bad, but on the other hand, it's just giving people an opportunity to really seek out what they really desire, what they really want from the bottom of their hearts. That is not something that colleges will see as optimistic. Instead, I feel that colleges will really appreciate, understand what you guys have done, and then what kind of contributions you have made as long as you can explain and then phrase that in a good way in your college application, I don't think colleges will see like those activities or those extracurriculars in a bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think, just being adaptive, it really communicates a lot about your competence to the colleges that you're applying to, the admissions officers, like just being able to show that, you can handle the situation and you can thrive in these difficult times, right? It's it's very key to, showing that you're going to be able to do well in college as well.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure to keep that in mind, right? It's not too late to begin adapting either. There's, as much as our economy has closed down, there's been so many more opportunities opening up, like remote internships and different opportunities to help the community and to help yourself. Like um like Francis is saying, she has a lot of time at home now and she's really been thinking about what she wants to do, and you should be doing the same. Not just thinking about it for college, but really for yourself and the people around you that you care about. Yeah.
Mhm. So be sincere in your college application, and then people can really tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
You want to tell us a little bit about the service you offer and how you help students?
Yes. So this is part of our counselor list, and then partial results from our previous year's college applications. And then I want to briefly talk about like what kind of service we offer, by grade level. Since you guys can all see it, I'm just gonna be really brief. So basically, we guide our students in three areas: academics, tests, and extracurriculars. But then with everything aimed at helping our students to get into their dream schools. So basically, in terms of academics, we help our students to choose courses. Like every year, we help our students to select their elective courses in high school. Or like, if our students need any extra enrichment opportunities outside of high school, we would also make a lot of recommendations on what they can do about it. And then in terms of tests, we would give our students a lot of strategic advice on when to prepare for what, and then how to prepare for those tests. And then most importantly, when our students are already good, doing really well in school, and then in those standardized tests, we also help them plan for all kinds of extracurriculars, including volunteer, club activities, talents, sports, internship opportunities, educational prep programs, and then also signature projects. So basically, our goal is really to help students to get into dream school, and then whatever that helps, we'll provide to our students. And then we do meet with our students on a monthly basis, and then do a follow up, on a bi-weekly basis, just to make sure all our students can stay on top of everything we assign. So we want our students to share our vision in high school planning, in college application, and then more importantly, they themselves fully own their planning and then their projects. So we also want them to take the initiative.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's amazing when students really start planning early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people always ask like, hey, when should I, have a counselor, right? The simple answer is that the earlier the better, and then it definitely depends on your goal. If your goal is to get into a top school, to get into an Ivy League school, you need to start building your profile, on a gradual and evolving basis. So that really requires you to prepare early so that you can be ready by the time we apply to college. And
Mhm.
then in terms of how our service differ from the other competitors or companies, I would say compared with certain, companies where counselor changes, are really frequent, turnover is very high, we are super stable. And then when we help our students with the essay drafting, brainstorm, and then the editing process, our counselors do work with students on a one-on-one basis and then provide very, very customized service process just to make sure our students can really stand out in terms of their essays. We try to do the quality control as much as we can because we want to make sure like all our clients are super happy about whatever we offer, especially they can be happy about the college admissions result they eventually get. And then our counseling philosophy is that we also want our students to ask questions to lead the service instead of us reaching out to them. So basically, we want our students to be super active, take the initiative in every aspect.
Mhm. Yeah, so based on that philosophy of students asking questions, now we are turning it back to the audience. So We will address all the questions that have been asked over throughout the lecture, and also feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions right now. By the way, if you're watching from YouTube, because the Zoom room is limited, leave your questions in the chat box and we'll get to them as well. So, one of the most recent questions asked is, will the university application deadline this year be extended due to COVID-19? That actually was asked to me a couple times by a few students. So,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's totally possible. That's totally possible, right? Because a few schools have already been canceling their early application deadline. We are projecting that there will be schools that will have extended application deadline. So we just need to give universities a little bit more time. I'm pretty sure they are struggle with a lot of things, including this one. So give it 1 or 2 months. I'm pretty sure all their final application deadline will come out either next month or in early September.
Mhm. Okay, and Andrea was asking, how much do essays matter in relation to extracurricular and stats? Like, I guess how would they weigh it? Hmm.
Mm. So if you check every single university's admissions information, essay always matters. So when the common data set asks like, hey, do you care about college essays? Every single school that asks students to submit essays, they would say yes, it matters. And then for each single school, they're gonna weigh essays very differently, from 5% to almost 20%. So they look at essays differently.
Yeah, and I'd say like even the kind of major you're going into, that those are the kinds of people that will be reading your admissions essay. Oftentimes there will also be a student assistant, and they want to see how well you convey your vision for a professional future and whether you'll fit into their community or not. So I'd say more than ever now the essay matters, as the applications weigh more on qualitative aspects. Really communicating who you are and what you plan to do is very key. So I'd say it may weigh just as much.
Mhm.
Yeah. So another question we got is, would you suggest writing about COVID-19 on personal essays? I've been told we shouldn't do so because everyone will be doing the same thing / living through similar experiences, and college admissions officers would more likely be bored of the repeating topic.
That's a great question. Actually, this person has really nailed it, on head. I think the last thing you want to do for your college essay is to provide a generic essay, right? So for this year, we do project that a lot of the students will, write a personal essay about COVID-19 and then what they have done during this time, right? We are projecting that people will talk a lot about, online learning experience and probably how that sucks. And then people will also talk about like how they're helping the local community, like distributing face masks and stuff. So always think from the perspective about how to make your essay unique. So that's the key.
Yeah, and so another person asked, Rachel, do you think the Common Caring Project will be required for all future years, not just 2021? I think that, I think colleges will take a more holistic view after this, but we really can't predict what's going to happen, right?
No,
Francis,
we
how do you feel?
Yeah, no, we can't. We just really have to, see like where this wind is going. And then the biggest trends currently is the emphasis on SAT and ACT, which I predict will not end sometime soon. So that is something to bear in mind. If that's the thing, then all the factors Harvard, along with other schools that they will pay more attention to, are the remaining factors. So they will be more important than before. And then yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I would just say the fact that 315 deans across the nation, from Ivy Leagues to smaller schools, they all, endorse this letter about these five values. I think that, whether or not they're gonna grade based on that, it's still gonna be some a standard that they want to have in their students. So, it's definitely gonna be relevant.
Mhm.
Anyway, Kaylin Tai asked, "Does financial cover less for UCs, and does it cover more for CSUs and Cal Polys?"
Mhm.
Hmm.
Wow, that's a great question. So in terms of financial aid, right? I would say it's about the same for UC and CSU, right? So to apply for financial aid for such, public schools, you need to file the FAFSA. So it also depends on, which UC campus or which Cal State campus that you would, fill on the FAFSA form. And then for UC and CSU, I would say they offer about the same, amount of financial aid every year.
Mhm. Great. Yeah, I think that's definitely accurate. So another anonymous person asked, since SAT tests in the early fall in 2020 are all booked out, will colleges be extending the early application deadlines to accommodate people who have not taken the test yet?
Yes, as we've been saying, like, Princeton has been doing it. We suspect like more schools will follow the suit as well. But always keep yourself, updated, for college admissions, and then see what the other schools have to say about it, because it really depends on which school you apply, right?
Mhm. And then Priscilla asked, do students need to publish a paper from university research to stand out? That's very bold. University research as a high schooler?
It really depends on your major, right? If you're a business major, the research paper, I would say, will matter and weigh a lot less than, let's say, if you're a biology major, right? I mean, it's nice that you've already get involved in a university research experience, and then getting published is gonna even be better. But then what's more importantly is like, what have you achieved in this process? For a lot of our students who intern or work for university, labs, a lot of times they can only help with some very fundamental, tasks or jobs, right? So think about it. University level research is very important, and then the publication is going to weigh a lot more. But then more importantly, in your essay, in your extracurriculars, people are going to tell how much you have done, how much you have accomplished. If you are one of the core persons in the project, it's going to help you like a lot. And then on the other hand, it also depends on your major. If your major is like, more research oriented, I would say it's going to help a lot more.
Mhm. Okay, so another question is, I did multiple things during COVID-19. Should I focus one thing to talk about or talk about multiple things in the essay? What did we say about quality or quantity? Which
Mhm.
one is better? Okay.
So in the college essay, it depends on which college's essay, right? For a common application, the main essay is only 650 words. So you don't want to have sort of a resume style, I would call it, essay, where you talk about everything, sort of like a big pot. You don't want to have that. You want to focus more on like one thing, one experience, and then really go at great length, great depth, right, about it. But then, like in terms of UCSA, because you can submit 4 essays to University of California, you probably can get a better chance of talking about more experiences. So first of all, it depends on school, and then secondly, if you're talking more about Common App, like whether you should be reporting like one or more than one or multiple, like, my suggestion is to, focus more on the depths of each experience.
Yeah, great answer. Oh, we got an attendee to raise their hand. Let's see. Cindy, you want to talk? You
Yeah,
have a
hi, thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to ask, because of COVID-19, how much will it affect the financial aid for Dreamers? Thank you.
great question.
Great question, Cindy. Thank you for asking us the great question. For COVID-19, we are seeing COVID-19 has been infecting a lot of, small size schools, financial pool. Actually, for example, we have been, getting all these, updates about some small size liberal arts schools almost like going bankrupt and stuff, right? So we are projecting that COVID-19 will highly impact some small size schools, capital to support the students. So if you are thinking about applying to some top schools or big schools or state-funded schools, I don't think the financial aid pool is gonna like decrease drastically like this year. And then because like government or state governments might also be, supporting them like with different endeavors. But then on the other hand, some very small size schools, liberal arts schools, for those schools, you probably want to keep a watchful eye on them. So try to get as many updates from the schools as possible.
Has that answered your question, Cindy?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Yeah. Oh, Joanna. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Joanna. Did you want to ask a question? You raise your hand. Okay. Maybe not. Well, let's go to another question then. All right. What trends that you see among students that get into top universities? Sorry about the grammar on that. I guess the person is asking, what trends do you see among your students that get into the top universities? Like, what are they doing all similarly? And yeah.
Yes. So basically, the admissions for top schools are getting harder and harder. For all the students that were able to get into those top schools, I'm seeing a few things. First thing is leadership. I'm seeing all of them being great leaders in their local community or in their family or in their schools. Basically, colleges want to see people who can lead, who can set examples to others. So that's the first thing. And then second, I'm seeing all those students, stand out because they are really more mature. Like from the college essay drafting process, I can really tell like they've gone a lot in their life, or they have very deep thoughts on what is going on in their life. They always have a lot of self-reflection to share with me, which means that they're super mature, they're super grown up. And then sometimes like their thoughts, you can even compare their thoughts with adults, kind of. So that's the second thing I see very common in those students. So those two things are really important.
Here's a question straight up for you. As an alumni interviewer for UPenn, how important are the interviews?
Yes, the alumni interviewer, as the alumni interviewer, I've been interviewing for University of Pennsylvania for quite a few years. And then one thing that I think actually the alumni interview is really important because a lot of times I see it as an opportunity for students who do not write well to present themselves, or for students to kind of express themselves, impress colleges in a more interactive way. Because think about it, college application for UPenn, they allow you to submit essays, they allow you to submit supplements, they allow you to report extracurriculars, but then everything is written. The only opportunity for you to talk to people that can really impact the eventual admissions result is the alumni interview. So it is really important, and then make sure you get ready for it.
Okay. We're about to take about 5 more questions, and so Sean, we're gonna allow you to talk, and then Joanna. Let's see. Oh wait, what happened to that? Sean, if you could raise your hand again, that would be great. Joanna, go ahead.
Hi, I'm just wondering, I'm going to have a question about Questbridge. Do you recommend doing Questbridge if you're not that sure about what colleges you want to go to, since it's binding?
sure, don't do it. Just like early decision, if you're not sure, just don't do it.
Mhm. Thank you. Do you have any follow-up question, Joanna?
Yes, I have one more. Do you recommend doing early decisions, applying for early decisions?
Yeah, first thing, early decision is fine, right? So you still have to be super sure about the school you're applying ED early decision so that you apply. If you're not sure, just don't apply, right? It's a binding contract. And then second thing for early decision, you also need to think about with what kind of students you are competing with. I think one super common misbelief is that, hey, I really want to, apply to my dream school with early decision. A lot of times, dream school means like, you know, um, you have a huge GPA or test score gap. You know, if you compare your scores or your GPA with the admitted students. So that is also something you need to consider. I mean, for early decision pool, what we are seeing is that a lot of overachieving students, high performing students are applying ED because they can get, essays ready 2 months ahead, because they can, get their SAT score ready by November the 1st. So that's the thing. So whether you're applying ED or not, I think will mainly depend on these two things.
Mhm. Great. And yeah, we have another great question from Claire Jin. When we apply for private schools, will it reduce the admission chance if we apply for scholarship?
Wow, that's a great question. It depends on whether the school is financial aid blind or they are not, right? So for the schools who are blind to students' financial aid requests, it doesn't really matter. But then for schools that are not, it does, impact, it does influence your admissions result. So you need to check that before, apply for the financial aid.
Mhm. Another great question. This ties to one of your earlier answers because business is such an impacted major and there aren't many opportunities for students to get involved with business. What are ways to stand out? Well, I can tell you one, you can apply to be a 7EDU student ambassador, but go ahead, Francis.
Yeah. So actually, businesses, when we talk about it, it's not like you're starting up another Facebook. It's not like you're starting up another Instagram. Think about the small things you can do. A few years ago, I had a student who was importing, iPhone cases from China and then sell them to his followers on IG, and then he was making like 40 to 50K every year. I mean, he's earning almost a lot more than some of the average workers, right? So I would say, in terms of business major, there's a lot of things you can do. You need to go really from what you're good at, and then you need to be creative with whatever idea you get. So think about, what surrounding people need. Try to supply that demand, and then that's all you need to do. Don't think about like, hey, this is something not achievable. This is not something that's workable for me. Think about, what you can do about it. Always start from your life.
And I think this is a question that everyone just has on their mind. How would extracurriculars be counted at this time? So I guess how are they, you know?
Hmm. I see. So first of all, the number of hours, right? You still need to report, and then whatever you've done, you still need to report. And then on the other hand, I would say colleges will, weigh them more, as we've already been, discussing, right? So this is something that you need to think about, like whether you can leverage the resources you have at this point. And then even small things can count as extracurricular. For example, if you have, taken on family responsibilities, and then if you've been, let's say, teaching or tutoring your siblings, and then helping with his or her homework, like even that can count as extracurricular. The definition of extracurricular, I think, should be expanded this year as well, because you're spending a lot more time at home with your family members. So start from there. Don't, get upset if you cannot go outside and then do a traditional extracurricular.
Yeah, just make sure not to put watching Netflix in there.
Either.
So another question is it true that some colleges reject you based on your financial status?
Yes, as we said, right?
Yeah.
Colleges who do care about like whether they're giving you money, right? If they do care about it, it's gonna reduce your chance.
All right, we're gonna take 2 more questions. I know I said 5, but we'll do 2 more. So one of them is, will taking community college classes cover or make up for high school grades?
Yes, but then it has to be, the subject that are mandated by your high school. A lot of times, when our students, take community college courses, they want to get ahead, by taking the same subject class in community college. If that's the case, you have to make sure the subject and then also the class level is the same as the one provided by your high school. And then if you're doing it more for enrichment purpose, it doesn't really matter, right? As long as the community college course, it gives you college credit, it's okay. Make sure you check, because it's not like every community college course colleges is gonna approve. So that you need to double check.
And before the last question, just could you let Susan know where in the Common App the COVID prompt is?
It's in the writing section.
Yeah, the writing section. Okay. And then our last question for tonight, we've gone way over time. Do you think that the upcoming SATs will be significantly harder and / have a lower curve because there are more students who have been preparing for months?
No, that I don't think so. All the best students, high achieving students I've seen, they are already like way over with their SAT, right? So the students who are taking SAT right now, we are looking at, students who are trying to take SAT from this March and above and, moving forward. So I don't think so. And then always College Board, when they, design each test, they are taking a lot of things into consideration. So far, I haven't got any news like regarding that they are making the August test extremely hard, to differentiate students.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Francis. And thank you everyone for attending. We hope you learned something useful tonight. And I'm sorry for anyone whose questions we didn't get to. Make sure you just contact us by email or, hit us up on Instagram, DM. I'll actually be the one who can talk to you via Instagram or Facebook. And, you can always reach out to our team by going to our website, hitting the chat box, giving us a phone call, emailing. All of our information is available for you. You just look up 7EDU. And, we look forward to hearing from many of you guys. And if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We really want to help you guys and provide a service, not just for our private lessons, but for the community at large, because we understand this is such a difficult time right now. Figured, Francis could really help provide some guidance for you guys. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, everyone. I hope our seminar, our workshop is really helpful to you. And then I wish you all the best luck, for those who apply this year. You guys are the best.
And we also have an open class next weekend if you guys would like to join. This is pretty exciting. It's actually about extracurriculars, as many of you are interested in. There's some, well, you'll get the information very soon. And yeah, it'll be exciting. Make sure to sign up for next week. We're doing a partnership with another company, and you guys can learn more about the extracurriculars that can help your applications. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed everything tonight. And any feedback is always welcome in how we can make this better for you guys. And yeah, have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.